Hello, welcome back to Earth Science. Today we're going to look at our extreme weather lab. We've done the lesson on extreme weather already, so we're going to go into our modules page, scroll all the way down to the current unit, go to today's date. Remember that the date's going to be different depending on which class you have me, whether you're virtual, even, or odd. But for today, regardless of what date it is, we're going to be looking at the Tracking a Hurricane lab. So go to the Hurricane lab, click on the Tracking a Hurricane lab lesson, and pop yourself into this page. We're going to be acting like we're meteorologists today, and we're going to try to predict the path of an actual hurricane. Now, this is a real hurricane that hit Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean area back in 1992. His name was Hurricane Andrew. So the first thing you're going to do is click on this discussion post here. You're going to answer these questions. What's a hurricane that you've heard the most about? And then tell us what you know about that hurricane. If you don't know the names of any hurricanes, you can't think of any, feel free to go ahead and Google this, research some of the hurricanes, find one that you're interested in, and then give us some facts about that one. You're going to need to reply to this post with your answers, and then once you've done that, you'll be able to see classmates' posts and reply to 2 of them. When you're finished with that, go ahead and head back over here to the lesson page. There's a short video here for you to watch. It covers the 10 major hurricanes of the past. There's way more than 10. This is just 10 that they decided they wanted to cover. They are massive hurricanes with major damage or loss of life, and you can see kind of what happens during a hurricane and how bad they can get. Once you finish with that, you're going to return here to do this lab. So go ahead and pause me while you do your bell work and your video, and then come back. All right, welcome back. So the first thing you're going to do is click this link right here to make a copy of the answer document. It should look like this when you make a copy of it. You've got your pre-lab questions. This link is to the actual lab document itself, which is this. This links to the videos and then back to the answer document. But this is where you're going to type all of your answers in directly onto this page, or you can print this off and handwrite your answers in. If you're going to do that, you'll need to either scan them if you have a scanner, or take a picture of each page, insert those pictures into a Google Doc, and submit it that way. I do recommend that you actually print this off at least the last page, because the last page is the map that you're going to draw on. So these are your instructions for the lab itself. I'm going to switch you over to the document camera and go through the lab with you there. You have copies of this on Canvas, so you can actually split screen this. You've got the lab document that you can have on one side in Canvas, and then you have your student response page that you can have in the second screen. So you can just type your answers directly into this page if you'd like, while you have your lab document open on the other side. So a couple of things I want to point out here. First of all, the links that are in this actual lab document are the same ones that you found in Canvas. So this is the same video you've already watched. And then down here at the bottom, there's a link to the student answer document again. So if you didn't do that in Canvas, you can do it again by looking at this document. You're going to need to read through this. This has a lot of information that's going to give you information about hurricanes in general. It's also going to give you information about the specific hurricane that we're going to track today, which is Hurricane Andrew. It happened in 1992. This was down in the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean area. And we're going to look at the path that this actually took. So please read through this. There's some information on here that is actually fair game for the test. So read your background information before you do this lab. Then you're going to go into your answer document, and you have your pre-lab questions to answer. And then we're going to look at your procedure. So those pre-lab questions are actually on your answer document right here. And then we'll start in with your lab questions there. So go ahead and get started with that, and then we will talk about what we're going to need. You can pause me if you need to go ahead and gather supplies. Before you take off, though, you're going to need 3 colors of colored pencils. You will probably need a ruler, and if you don't want to do math, you're going to need a calculator. If you don't print off the student response sheet, you are actually also going to need some paper so that you can draw your map. This is what your map's going to look like. So pause me, go gather your supplies, and then I'll talk you through drawing your map. Answer your pre-lab questions also while you're gathering your supplies. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you've got your pre-lab questions answered. Before we go into the procedures, we're going to need to set up your map. So if you did not print this off already, we're going to draw it out. If you did print it off, then you can just skip ahead a little bit and ignore the drawing instructions. So you're going to use your ruler. Each one of these small squares here is 1/4 inch. So these smaller squares that's 1/4 inch. There's 5 of them, so you have 1 1/4 inches in each larger square here. Okay, so each large square is 5 small squares. So you're going to set up your grid so that you go from 15 degrees north up to about 34 degrees north here. And you're going to go from about 63 degrees west all the way over here to, this is 95, so about 98 west. And then once you get that grid drawn out on your page, then you're going to freehand your countries and continents. So you've got North America up here. You can kind of eyeball where it comes in. You've got this little inset here. Then it comes out to this major line all the way down to this one. So just freehand this as best you can. So you're going to have all of North America, Latin America here, part of Latin America anyway. Then you're going to want to make sure that you fill in some squiggles here to represent the Bahama Islands, Bermuda. You've got Cuba right here, Jamaica, Puerto Rico's over here, and this is Haiti and Dominican Republic. So you want to get all of these 4 major islands plus this little island chain along with your continent. So if you did not print this off, go ahead and pause the video, sketch your map out. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just need to be able to see where you're at on here, and we need to be able to see your latitude, longitude lines. All right, now that you have your map out, you've answered all of your pre-lab questions here, we're going to get into the procedure. So on this procedure, there's a couple of things, oops, there we go. There's a couple of things that I want to make note of. We're going to be using our data set in this data table here to track the hurricane. So you've got the position of the hurricane right here in latitude and longitude. That's where the eye of the storm is. This is wind speed in knots. That's how fast the wind is blowing. It's not how fast the storm is moving. And then you've got the date and the time over here. But if you take a look at it, it's actually in military time. 1200 is noon. The data has been collected every few hours for several days. They started collecting it before the data that we're using. We're only going to focus on the part that's here near the United States. So 1200 is noon. If you have something bigger than 1200, subtract 1200 from it to figure out the time. So 1800 is 6 p.m. If it's all zeros, that's midnight, which would be the start of the next day. So that's why this says day 1 and 2. Anytime you get to the hurricane symbol and stop, there's an arrow over here. And when you get to this, you're going to stop doing your data and you're going to move over to the questions and answer those. It gives you a little bit more information over here in your instructions that's going to be useful to you. Knots. For 1 knot, it's 1.15 miles per hour. So if you have 70 knots, that's going to be around 75, 80 miles an hour. When you get up to 135 knots, that's going to be closer to 170 miles an hour. So you can do the math to calculate your wind speeds there just to see how intense it is. And then the winds extend out from the eye of the hurricane by 100 kilometers in all directions. So the track that we're going to draw is the eye. The winds extend out 100 kilometers. I'm going to encourage you to read through all of these instructions before you start this activity. So read through these on your own to make sure you really understand what's going on and what you're going to be doing. We're going to go through this step by step for the first data set so you can kind of see what's going on. So the first thing you're going to do is come down here. I'm actually going to mark over here because the hurricane extends 100 kilometers. I know because it tells me in the reading that one of these large boxes is 200 kilometers. So the winds of the hurricane are going to extend half of a box. 200 kilometers. So I'm going to jot that down on here so I don't forget. So if I happen to have a hurricane right here in the middle of this box, the winds would actually extend out half of that box in all directions. So this entire box would be within the actual hurricane itself. Only this dot is at the eye, but the entire box is in the hurricane. That's going to be important when we start issuing watches and warnings because we want to make sure we get all the way to the edges of the hurricane, not just along the path of the eye. So let's go ahead and get started. We have our data set here. Our first position is 25.8 north, 68.3 west. Our instructions tell us to use the first color. Use color 1, so I'm going to mark that red, and make a dot for each position of Andrew and connect the dots. For each time you get to a midnight, it's going to be a star. You can also do this using Google Drawings or Cami. Just use the asterisks if you're using it that way. I'm going to go ahead and draw it because I imagine that's probably what most of you are going to do. So 25.8 and 68.3. So we're going to come to 25. Each one of these lines is 1 degree. So 25.8 is going to be just below this line. 68.3 is going to be 68 and just off of 68. So you can use your ruler to mark that if you'd like. I'm going to just eyeball it. The ruler was mostly just for drawing the map. Here's my 65. Here's 68. Here's 68.3. So we're in this box here. So double check that. Make sure you're in the right spot. So then we're going to go 25.7, 69.7. 69.7 is going to be almost over to the 70. So right about here. Probably right about there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just needs to be close. Our third one, 25.6, 71.1. So 25.6 is going to be just below that, just above halfway. 71, just barely past 71. So right there. Now this is actually a midnight, so this is going to get a star. So a star right here. And then we're going to connect our dots. So it's just barely kind of moving to the south a little bit there. We've reached a stop point, stop answer question 1. So our next position or our next instruction, at each stop point, you'll be asked to answer questions, analyze your decisions, make predictions. Remember that a hurricane warning means conditions are likely for a location within 24 hours. So a warning, hurricane conditions are likely for 24 hours. So I'm going to issue warnings in purple. And then a watch means positions are likely within 36 hours. So an additional 12. It's not 36 past the warning, it's 36 total, so an additional 12. So then down here, using color number 2, draw a dotted line for your warning area. So that's going to be my purple. So purple is going to be 24 hours past. We did in 12 hours, we did 1, 2, 3 boxes. So now I'm going to get out my ruler. And I'm going to go 24 hours past this. So I'm going to go 6 boxes past. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 boxes past that for my warning. A dotted line in my warning color. So here's my dotted line for my warning color. Now we have to go through and do our watch. So color 3 is our watch, and that's an additional 12 hours. That's going to be another 3 boxes. So we're going to come over here. 1, 2, 3 boxes. So 1, 2, 3 boxes. So this one's a little bit harder to see. Let me see if I can get a different color here. Let's use black. Let's see if this helps. That's a little easier to see, I think. So we'll use black for our watch. So I'm going to color this black. All right, so we've got all that extended out. Now remember, this is only for the eye of the storm. So once we've done this, we're going to go ahead and answer our questions. But this is only the eye. Remember that this hurricane is going to go 100 kilometers out from here. So we're going to go down 2.5 boxes. I'm going to go down 2.5 boxes. And we're going to connect those. You do not have to do this part of it. The only thing you have to have on your map is this line for the eye. I'm going to go ahead and do this though. 2.5. 2.5. I'm going to go ahead and do this though so I can kind of see where my warning should be. Now these guys in red have already had their hurricane. They're in the middle of it now. So we're going to go out 1, 2.5 boxes right here. All the way out to here, these guys are already in hurricane. So our warning is actually going to go from here two and a half boxes past this. So 1, 2.5. So this box right here is going to be our border of our warning. Okay, you don't have to draw this box. You just have to mark these numbers down because on your answer document, we've got question number 1. Based on how far it's traveled in the last 24 hours and its direction so far, which locations would you issue warnings? So for latitudes between, we're going to go ahead and issue a warning. We're going to go straight across here. Just so we don't have to do weird numbers. And we're going to go straight across here so we don't have to do weird numbers. So we're going to go latitudes, which is flat, between 22.5 okay, all the way up to 27, 28. So that's our borders north and south for our warning box. Then longitudes, we're going to go 68.5 all the way over to, oh, this is not 68.5, so 70, 71, 72, 73.5. So 73.5 to 79.5. So that's our warning box. Because these guys over here, again, they're already in hurricane conditions from this eye being right here. These guys here are still in hurricane conditions from the eye being here. Anybody past this direction isn't going to need it. So we're going to extend our hurricane warning to here. Then, which locations would you issue a watch? We're going to use the same north and south border because we extended our north and south border so it wasn't diagonal. So we're going to use the same north-south border, 22.5 north to 28 north. And then our longitude is going to start where we left off with the warning. So we left off at 79.5. We'll start at 79.5. And then we're going to go over 2.5 boxes from the edge of our line here. So 1, 2.5. So our warning, or our watch box, is going to go all the way down here. Our watch box is going to get extended all the way over here. Okay, so this whole area in here is now in a watch. So we're going to extend it all the way over to 80, 81, 82.5. Okay, now it's asking what major cities, states, countries are in the warning area. So we're going to take a look and we're going to see what's in our warning box here. We've got, it looks like we're actually just barely missing Cuba here. It's just barely escaping there. But you've got all of the Bahamas. And we're not quite over to Florida yet. So Bahamas and Bermuda are in that box. So those are the countries that we're going to issue the warnings for. Now we have our watch box, which is quite a bit further over. So now we're going to have basically all of South Florida. This is Tampa right here. You'll hopefully be able to see it a little bit better on your map. This is Tampa, so we're going to do all of southern Florida from Tampa down. So we've got Tampa, Fort Myers, Orlando, Miami, the Florida Keys. We've got this part of Cuba in here now. So we're going to go North Cuba. The Bahamas are still in the warning, as is Bermuda. So we're going to go South Florida. Our major cities are going to be, we're going to do Florida Keys, Miami, Fort Myers, Tampa, Orlando for our major cities. Okay. Then we're going to go back out here. We're going to get our data table back. We've done part 1. We're going to come back here. We're going to do the data for the second set here. So let's take a look at this. So at 6 a.m., we're at 25.5 and 72.5. So we've gone down just a touch. 71, 72, 72.5. So we're going to be right in here. Okay. The next one, 75.4, 74.2. So 75.4. I'm sorry, 25.4, 74.2. So that's going to be right here. And then our third one, we've got 25.4, 75.8. And then at midnight, we're at 25.4, 77.5. 77.5. And this one is a star because it's midnight. We're going to connect our dots. Okay. So our prediction has it coming all the way down here to 25. but we stayed a little bit north. So we're off. These are about 20 kilometers per box. So we're off probably about 10 kilometers north and south. But look at this. We only issued the warning over here to 79.5. Okay, so we issued the warning over here to 79.5. So we're still sort of in there. 2.5 boxes from here though. That's half, 1, 2. So we're about a half a box off. So we're about 10 kilometers off in each direction. So we would then go ahead and stop here. We're done with our data set for this one. We're going to go ahead and determine where we're going to do our warning and watches. So we're going to take a look at how far we went in this 24-hour time period, and we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 boxes. So there's there's a half a box. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 boxes is going to be here. If we think it's going to stay in a straight line, we can draw the path with our ruler. If we think it's going to curve, you can draw your curved path. For simplicity, I'm going to do a straight line here. So this is our warning area. Then we have our watch area is going to be half of that again. So 3 boxes, 3.25. So there's 1, 2, 3. So right in there. If we think it's going to go straight, that's going to be our path. So then we have to come back to our question set because we've reached a stop point. Now question number 2 is going to be a little bit different. From now on, you're going to see this letter A on every question. So was your prediction accurate? Yes, no, or you were close? We were off about 10 kilometers each direction, so I'm going to say close. You can only say yes if you were pretty much spot on or you were only off by, less than 10 kilometers in one direction. We're going to go with close. If you were no or close, how far off were you? Approximately 10 kilometers each direction, or you can put 10 kilometers east, north, south, whatever. If you were not accurate, so this is if it was a no or a close, okay? If you couldn't answer yes, what would have happened to the people who were hit by a hurricane without warning? Go ahead and answer this. Talk about damage, actions, injuries, experiences. So what would they have gone through? What kind of damage would they have taken on? Would they have gotten injured at all? What actions would they have taken or not taken? Because we were off a little bit, so there were some people who did not get the warning in time. This is the only place you're going to see this question because this answer is going to be the same every time. So all of the questions from now on, though, will have that part A. For all of these, you're going to have, were you accurate or not, and then make your predictions for the latitude, longitude, make your predictions for the cities and the states. Okay? So go ahead and continue on, finish this up, work through the rest of the data, answer the rest of your questions. When you finish the last page of questions here, once you're done with your last set of questions for your data, you do have a set of post-lab questions down here to answer as well. So you are going to gather all of this information from your student answer sheet along with your map, and this is what you're going to include when you submit. If you've done this digitally, you'll just turn in the document that has all of this in it. If you drew your map, you can take a picture of it, insert your image of your finished map into your Google Doc to submit it. If you did all of this on paper and you don't want to type it up, you can take a picture of each page and submit those. Please make sure that they are either JPEGs or that you have inserted them into a Google Doc in order to submit. Once you're done with that, you are done for the day. Hopefully this is a little bit entertaining for you, and it's useful to show you how difficult it is to predict these things. There's a lot of factors that go into what direction is it going, how fast is it going, how strong is it, that kind of thing. So hopefully that helps you see how hard it is to actually predict these. Get this turned in on time, please. It is a lab, so it is worth quite a bit of points. And then we will see you next time.